How common is it to not feel anything during self-Reiki? Well, I will tell you what, it is so common that this is a very common question. Now, of course, the Reiki Learning Group has been around for a few years, and I cannot tell you how many times in those years we have received questions exactly like this. Questions asking, is it normal to not feel anything during Reiki? Is it normal to not feel anything during self-Reiki? Is it normal to not receive images? Is it normal to not have any sensations? Yes. Yes, it's absolutely normal. And especially during self-Reiki, this is normal. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a little bit about my own Reiki journey with feeling things. And I can tell you that for a couple of years, I would say probably after my Reiki training, I didn't really feel too much at all. Now, I'm going to say more about that in a second, okay? But absolutely, I was using Reiki on myself, Reikiing my home. This was before I had my Reiki business. And I would say that I really wasn't feeling too much. When I received Reiki, I wasn't feeling a lot. Yeah, it felt nice. It was relaxing. I can tell you that during my attunements, I definitely felt things and it felt really great. But I can tell you that I didn't have a lot of sensations. I didn't see images. I didn't receive information. I just did my Reiki and I did my thing. Now, I will say that one thing that really helped me with feeling things during self-Reiki was, rather than putting my hands on my physical body, to have them hovering off of my body a little bit. And that to me has always been easier to feel things than actually placing my hands on my physical body. And so I will also say, when I do in-person sessions in my Reiki business, I like to have my hands off of the client and have my hands hovering just above their body, because for me, that's where I can sense things a little bit more clearly. And it's the same thing for me with self-Reiki as well. Now, I will say, in my personal Reiki practice, I typically practice self-Reiki by putting my hands right on my skin. But I do find that when I hover over my body just a little bit, that yes, indeed, I can often feel things more. And so if you're challenged to feel anything during self-Reiki, I encourage you, try that and see if it might work for you and see if it might change whether or not you can feel anything. But I want to say, most importantly and most emphatically, that number one, there's no requirement to feel anything. Number two, if you don't feel anything, it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. And number three, if you don't feel anything, it doesn't mean that Reiki isn't working. I think it's really important for us to examine where exactly these questions of how long does it take to feel something are coming from, because what that's really setting up is an expectation in our mind that there's an amount of time that elapses by which we should be feeling something. And that if we aren't feeling something by the amount of time that has elapsed, then, oh no, something's wrong. We're doing something wrong. The attunement didn't work, or some other kind of fear and concern. I encourage us first and foremost to release that judgment, release that fear, and release that concern. Because these expectations are not from Reiki. Reiki, as universal life force energy, is not saying to us, you damn well better feel something in the next couple of weeks after your attunement. Or, what do you mean you don't feel anything? It's been years and still you don't feel anything? What the heck, pal? Reiki is not doing or saying any of that. Reiki is not judging us whether we feel anything or not. And Reiki certainly is still flowing and is still with us, whether we feel anything or not. And so I think that whether we feel something or not, whether we say, yes, you may feel something in the future or not, what really matters, I think, is that we examine why we feel this expectation that we need to feel something, and that if we don't, we're doing something wrong. You know, as our Reiki journey unfolds, it changes. Things change. The sensations change. Images that we may or may not receive. I'll talk about that in a second. But our experience of receiving and or sending Reiki to ourselves and others can indeed change as our Reiki journey unfolds. And so what that means is that what we experience now on our Reiki journey is not what we will always experience. I know for me personally, if you recall, I said I didn't really feel anything for the first couple of years. I can look at an image that has been sent Reiki now and feel it. And so that's the case in my Reiki journey right now. In the future, as my Reiki journey unfolds, that may very well change. Maybe I won't feel anything whenever I see an image that has been sent Reiki. Okay, no problem. No problem, because it doesn't mean that I'm doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that I am not connected to Reiki. We are all always already connected to Reiki. It doesn't mean that I've messed up. It doesn't mean that Reiki has left me. None of that is true. It simply means that my experience of Reiki, of my Reiki journey, has changed. And I want to encourage us all to release judgment of that. Here is something that is so true about our Reiki journey and about our anxiety and nervousness over our Reiki journey. We as human beings always are looking for validation. We're always looking for feedback. You know, if I could see your comments, I'd be looking right now and being like, are they seeing me? Are they hearing me? Am I coming through loud and clear? Are there any technological problems? Someone swearing at me? Because we're always constantly looking for feedback as human beings. The challenge for us is with something like Reiki, where maybe we're not receiving immediate feedback or we're not receiving any feedback. And so when we're not receiving any feedback, we feel like we're doing something wrong. You know, Reiki is not giving us a grade. Reiki is not saying, ooh, you feel lots of things, you get an A. Oh, you don't feel anything, sorry, you get an F. Reiki is not grading us. But we're so used to feedback that we are almost, in a sense, looking for a grade in Reiki, just like we do in school. You know, it's ingrained in us, right? We go to school, we get grades, we get an A in math, we get a B in English, and that's feedback. And we know where we stand when it comes to our education. But with Reiki, we can have a very hard time knowing where we stand because we might not get any feedback. And then we're wondering, is the feedback that I'm getting okay? Is this validation? It's really what we're looking for, is validation. And so when we ask a question like, how long until I feel something during self-Reiki? What we're really asking is, am I doing this okay? And what we're really asking is, am I okay? And what we're really asking is, am I okay as a Reiki practitioner? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. You are indeed okay as a Reiki practitioner, and you are indeed okay as a person. As a matter of fact, you're better than okay because you're in the Reiki Learning Group. I'm kidding, of course, but really and truly, I speak to you from the bottom of my heart that I want to encourage you to release the judgment of yourself. Reiki is not judging you. And if others are judging you, if other Reiki practitioners are judging you, then too, they have some growing and learning to do on their own Reiki journey. And so I'm sending lots of blessings and best wishes, whether you feel anything or not, whether you feel things now or never, it's all okay. I'm also going to drop for you in the comments. I had a great discussion with Kathleen Johnson of Universal Heart Reiki. Kathleen was also, until recently, a co-host of the Beyond the Reiki Gateway podcast. And Kathleen and I had a great discussion for the Reiki Business Collective interview series that's on the Standing Stones Healing YouTube channel, in which she talked about not feeling anything during self-Reiki either. And listen, if Kathleen Johnson ain't feeling anything during self-Reiki, it's absolutely okay to not feel anything during self-Reiki. And she's been doing this for quite a while. So I'm sending lots of blessings and best wishes to not feeling anything during self-Reiki.